The BBC News Channel has come under fire for changing its output and focusing too heavily on some stories at the expense of others. Viewers have criticised the BBC for what they have branded unbalanced coverage and a focus on some stories over others, including this morning presenter Phillip Schofield's affair with a younger colleague and his eventual departure from the flagship ITV breakfast show. On today's, June 24, edition of Newswatch, host Samira Ahmed put audience concerns to the executive news editor of the BBC News Channel, Paul Royal. When challenged on covering the Schofield story with reporters standing outside buildings, and having to fill dead airtime with nothing new to report, Royal said, "We always strive to get that balance right. One thing we do know is that audiences, or some audiences at least, want that pre-build to a story, and we get that through our data. Of course it's not always an exact science and sometimes we get it wrong. We're obviously not perfect in that regard. But at the same time, we do want to deliver a high story to viewers, and we do want to take them to other subjects and issues as well." He said when there was a big story, audiences wanted to immerse themselves in it, and this was the logic behind the extensive coverage. Another story which was covered extensively this week, in particular, was the search for the missing Titan submersible with 5 people on board. One audience member, Richard Gayton, wrote into Newswatch, "Extremely sad to lose 5 people in a submersible expedition, but why almost non-stop coverage on the news channel for hour after hour? Hardly a mention on the news when 500 or 600 poor souls drowned in the Mediterranean. Very unbalanced news coverage yet again by the BBC." Ahmed told Royal, "Many viewers feel the BBC got that wrong, and also there was something ethically distasteful about that alleged imbalance." However, Royal said the Titan submersible was the dominant story of the last few days and said there was a lot of coverage and audience engagement with the story. He said it was wrong to suggest the BBC wasn't covering the situation in refugee crisis in the Mediterranean. Royal, "We were covering live from Kalamata Live and extensively about what was happening there." Adding, "We are still in Kalamata today interviewing survivors from that incident." Along with the unbalanced coverage, other viewers were concerned about missing presenters after Anita McVeigh, Martine Croxall and other hosts had disappeared from TV screens. One viewer, Cheryl Bates, said, "We now have the option of watching either a radio phone-in program, which is simultaneously broadcast on Radio 5, if we wanted to listen to it, or switching to a competitor's news coverage. None of which hold a candle to the BBC's news offering. So between 9 and 11 every weekday morning is now a news desert."